Hey YouTube, this is Firewizard23. I know I haven't done a video in a while, but I wanted to take a few minutes to talk about the Pixar film Inside Out. I went to go see it yesterday with my boyfriend, and I gotta say, this is a really interesting concept, and I think that Pixar's done it again. You know, they really do create these really interesting experiences with their storytelling that do leave an impact and really make you think a lot about the world and how things work together and da-da-da-da. First, major spoilers. If you haven't go see the movie, go see it now. I'll wait. Pause the video. Okay, we're back? Alright. Okay, so the five characters you're seeing on the screen right now is for the posters. That is fear, joy, and disgust on the top, and anger and sadness on the bottom, if it's not obvious which one is which. And the entire film, for the most part, at least a good portion of the film, focuses on these five characters who live inside a girl's mind. Her name is Riley, with them being born as she has her first experiences with those respective emotions. And I think the film is really, really smart about the way it portrays the development of Riley over time. Joy is simply happiness. It represents the things that make Riley happy and helps her have happy emotions. Sadness for sadness, anger for anger, disgust for disgust, and fear for fear. And what I like, this film has a really interesting storytelling device. Most of us are probably used to the idea where you go to a film or read a story and you're watching the character actually play through the action, and they're the ones motivating the action, and they're doing this and they're doing that, and they're having this narrative and this talk. This film is extremely meta about how its characters are actually reacting as it relates to Riley. We cut back and forth between these characters and Riley. They can actually see Riley through like a video screen and they know what she's experiencing. I presume her eyes, and vice versa, you usually see her face as well. The film, Riley is living out her life, but these are her emotions. It's not, but I think the movie plays kind of fast and loose as to which one is which. But effectively, what is happening in her emotional, with these five emotions, essentially is reflecting what is happening in her actual life, so you can draw a lot of parallels. So when you just see happiness in her life at the very beginning of the film when she's born, the film also has a very interesting mechanism of using a console that is constantly getting more and more updated as time goes, as she grows up. It starts as just a simple button when she's a baby. That joy, she appears, and she need only press the button, and Riley starts laughing because she's happy. And there's even a very funny joke at the beginning of this film where, she's like, it was great, it was just Riley and me for the first 33 seconds. And then we see sadness come in, and she presses the button, which makes it blue. Joy is yellow, and sadness is blue. And she has a sad emotion for the first time, like crying, like, oh, I'm cold, I want my mom, or whatever. I forget what the exact problem was, but sadness directly says exactly what the thing is. And as Riley is experiencing emotions, we see these emotion-colored balls come out of this little rack, similar to the game Zuma. I swear that was all I was thinking of when I was watching this film with those balls. I don't know if anybody else thought of that too, but I'm just thinking, I just want to have a little frog in the middle and just start shooting the balls off. Anyway, but that's what happens. If she's happy, a yellow ball comes out. If she's angry, a red ball comes out. If she's frightened, a purple ball comes out. If she's disgusted by something, a green ball comes out. And Joy is describing the emotions of Riley as she grows up, saying, I'm what makes her happy. Sadness is whenever she's sad about something. And they each kind of respectively take control of the console when those kind of emotions are necessary. They're the only things they can possibly do. Anger is when she wants to do something angry. Fear is when she's scared of something. Disgust is to keep her safe from things that could hurt her. So like when she's running, like as a little girl, she's running and playing, and she comes across like an electrical socket that could trip her, a wire that could trip her, and she's like, oh wait, that's safe, that's not safe. And she stops for a moment, she has the disgusting emotion, she's careful and steps over it, and then she's happy again playing with her toys. And Joy is the one throughout the first act of the film who is really driving a lot of Riley's emotions when she's a young girl. Which makes sense. Most young girls, most young children want to experience happiness. They don't want to be sad. They don't want to be disgusted or fearful or angry all the time. They want to be happy. And thankfully, we're dealing with a pretty normative child in this case. And she turns 11. She's enjoying hockey, and she's enjoying. She has strong ties with her family, which are just straight throughout the film. She's goofy. She's she's honest. She has all these really good qualities for Riley. Five major good qualities of Riley have popped up as these. I forget the exact term, but there's little areas of Riley's personality they show off. It's really clever what they do narratively with these characters, with this world inside her mind. And I actually just read on the Wikipedia, they actually did a lot of research into the child psychology and the growing of the brain for this film, and it really shows. They really do a lot of really delving into the very deep concepts of how your emotions deal with things and how you grow with your emotions, and there's a lot of references in her mind to actual psychological ideas. I think at one point they're actually going through a place where this is how she deals with abstract thought, and they actually go through the 5 stages of abstract thought, which those aren't the actual stages. I have no doubt those are the actual stages of abstract thought. They are played out in a more literal form, but they are the actual 5 stages of abstract thought. So what happens is Riley turns 11, and her parents announce that they're going to move. They're from Minnesota, and they're moving to California. This is kind of the major crux of the film. Is Riley has to deal with the fact that life now isn't so perfect, and for some reason, Sadness feels a need to start touching Riley's core memories, or 5 happy memories that make up the core of her personality. Sadness is feeling an inclination to touch those memories, which is causing them to turn sad. And again, we get into this very meta issue where it's not so much that Sadness is doing it, but Riley is starting to feel sad, and her happiness, Joy in this case, the character Joy, is trying to push that away. She's trying to prevent herself from being sad with all these things happening. She's not on her hockey team anymore. She's had to move away from her friend. Her family seems like really, really strained with their own personal problems. And as it turns out, Joy, trying to protect the happy memories, gets sucked out of the Central Station, I forget what it is, like Brain Center or whatever, with Sadness, leaving only fear, anger, and disgust in charge of Riley's, I guess you would call it, active emotional area. I forget what headquarters, that's what they call it, headquarters. And the idea they have from Joy is to try to keep her happy, but they can't do that because their emotions are fear, anger, and disgust, which is all Riley's feeling at this point. And it's so clever. Because the movie really, really tries to hide its message here. And I think it's very, very clever how it's done. I'll get into it. But what happens is a bunch of adventures happen. Joy is trying to get back to the headquarters. She has to make Riley happy again. Sadness is all depressed and going throughout the long-term memories and stuff, and she's like, I don't want to go back, Riley doesn't need me, da-da-da-da. She's feeling, and she can remember all these sad memories and why they make her sad. They finally, through a series of complicated events, they do actually get back to Riley, actually as she's running away from home, and actually the console in the headquarters is actually completely frozen up to any of the 3 emotions that are left there, fear, anger, and disgust. And we can't make Riley feel anything. And Joy and Sadness finally appear. Riley's done some really terrible things. She's stolen money from her parents, and she's bought a bus ticket. She's going to go back to Minnesota because the other 3 emotions are saying, look, the only place she was happy was back in Minnesota, so she needs to go back to Minnesota to have more happy memories because she's not having any happy memories as long as those 3 emotions are there because of everything that's happening around her. So the movie's doing a weird thing where, again, we're kind of doing a meta thing here. It's because these emotions are doing what basically is happening in her mind. So are they directing Riley? Is Riley directing them? They leave it very up in the air there. So for you to interpret. I'm assuming as emotions, they're just acting kind of how Riley actually feels. So Joy gets there, and she has the ultimate realization of the movie, which is that, and I think it's very funny, because Joy is talking to Sadness early in the film with a sudden realization in her that Sadness is part of Riley. That she can't take that away from Riley. She can try to make her as happy and as fun and as joyous as she wants, but It's okay for Riley to be sad. Those are okay. In fact, one of the big things that happened prior to them getting sucked out of headquarters was Riley cried in describing how she had come from Minnesota into in front of her brand new class. She cried, and Riley, for the first time in her life, to the shock of the emotions, she had a core memory that was blue or sad. And like, this has never happened before. She's only had happy core memories. No, she had a genuine sad moment because you know what? She's actually feeling sad. Joy gives all of the core memories to Sadness, who they instantly turn blue, which was the thing that Joy was trying to prevent the entire time. But she's like, you need to let her feel sad. She needs to feel something. Joy and Sadness touching all the core memories, they do indeed turn blue, and Sadness touches the console. And Riley finally kind of breaks down, like, just kind of comes to a jolting realization, like, whoa, I should tell my parents. She runs up, like, stops the bus, and she gets off the bus, and she runs home, and the parents are, like, freaking panicked where she is. She comes in, and she just breaks down in front of them. Like, I hate it here. I miss Wisconsin. Minnesota? I think it's Minnesota. I miss my home. I miss all my friends. I miss my hockey team. She misses everything. And in a very touching moment, and I've actually seen this kind of moment mirrored, and actually in real families, where a child says this to a parent, like this, I hate this, I wish this wasn't like this. And Riley's parents, as I've seen many similar other parents do this, so do I. And they hug, and it's a really tearful moment. And Riley produces, for the first time in her life, a core memory that is both happy and sad. She's sad in the realization of those, not emotion, that it is so sad. She's crying like, wow, like this is just our breakdown. But she's so happy to have some kind of family support on that issue. And this is where I want to get to the movie's cleverness, because then it proceeds to the end reels, which I'll get into at this point, which she thinks are much better for her now. Earlier in the film, we cut into specifically the mom's mind and the father's mind. Rather than the 5 characters you see on the screen here, we see the similar 5 emotions in each character's mind, but we also see them looking very similar, which implies that the 5 emotions have learned to work together. They are more interested in her collective happiness, in her collective personality, rather than her experiencing 5 unique emotions, because they're adults. And emotion is a very complex thing when you're an adult. It's not this, I'm happy, I'm sad, I'm disgusted, I'm fearful, I'm angry. It can be a combination of many different emotions, and as we have new experiences as human beings, we learn to process multiple emotions and feelings at once. And I think what goes to the credit of the creators of this film is that when we go into the mother and the father, we see, not to mention just some funny bits between the mother and the father, just the emotions arguing over what's wrong in very standard household roles. We see them working as a group. The 5 emotions in the mother's mind, the 5 emotions in the father's mind. They're like, wow, these 5 know how to work together. And at the end of the film, like I said, in that very pivotal moment where sadness finally makes Riley experience real sadness that she needs to experience, because it's okay to experience sadness. And Joy figured that out. That, yeah, she's an important emotion too, but there's nothing wrong with Riley having other emotions as well. And it's not just the character of Joy, but it's Riley realizing it. That this is all right to experience. It's okay to be sad. She doesn't have to keep herself in this, I need to find something positive. Sometimes life just sucks. And it's okay to just acknowledge that suckiness. What we see in the epilogue of the film is all 5 of them, they actually get a new console for Riley as she's growing up. One that features a puberty button, a not so subtle reference to the fact that she is growing up and going to come into much more complex ideals. But we see the balls that come out in her in the memory holder are multiple emotions. She's not experiencing individual emotions anymore because it doesn't work like that. Adults don't work like that. Adolescents don't work like that. And I think Pixar, this movie is so smart about that. There was a really interesting tale to explain. When you grow up, you learn to deal with multiple emotions altogether. You learn to accept that, you're not just having... Riley in the film is dealing with not just things that happen at the spur of a moment, or, oh, I'm hungry, so I'll cry because I'm sad. That hurts, so I'm angry. That surprised me, so I'm fearful. That thing could hurt me, I'm disgusted. This is playful, I'm happy. Because she's coming into adolescence, she's learning, and through this experience that she's having at this fairly pivotal time in her life, emotionally, she's learning to have to deal and balance all her emotions at once. And really, I think the story is ultimately a message about communication. That the need to communicate your emotions is very, very important, and how you do it shapes who you are. And I think it's really... It's a very clever little message, and it's one... I'll say it's one of the best Pixar films I've seen. Of all the films... Yeah, I love most Pixar films. Cars, and... But I haven't done a video on every Pixar film, but like... This is one of the better ideas I've seen in a while. I definitely recommend going to see it. And yeah, that's how I felt about Inside Out. I give it absolutely I give it 5 stars out of 5. Like, this is a really smart film. It's not... It's a comedy drama, because it's not just funny. There is drama here. There is genuine drama for Riley. I feel for Riley. Like, wow. I mean, I used to be a teacher. I've seen kids who are just this down, and they haven't developed the communication. What if these characters inside their brains are just this dysfunctional, and they don't... Like, one emotion is really running everything, trying to maintain things a certain way, and, like, the other emotions just aren't getting a say, and what would happen in that case? And I think that's important in Riley's mind. Notice the characters that we see here on the screen right now. How distinctively different they are, and they're not really cohesive yet, like the ones we see in the mother's mind and the father's mind. I wish I could show a picture real quick of that. But they all they're all doing their hair the same, they all look the same. They have the different colors and everything, they represent the emotions, but they're balanced, and they work together. And that's important. It's important for people to have the balance of their emotions, and to understand their own emotions. So, I totally recommend this film. This is Firewizard23. I hope you enjoyed my review. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye for now.